everyone, I had a few requests to do some videos about brushes and just kind of what the different brushes are, what their purpose is. So I grabbed a bunch of my favorite brushes and then I'll tell you guys what I use them for. I mean, some people might use them for something else, but this is what I use them for, and these are like my absolute favorite brushes that I pretty much use every time I do my makeup. So I'm going to start with face brushes. So for foundation, there's two different brushes that I like to use. I have this little stiff kind of flat top Kabuki. This is a MAC 180 brush. I love this brush. I mean, it really can buff the foundation in, or you can stipple it to kind of get more coverage. But yeah, I love this brush. It's very, very dense. This one doesn't shed as much. I've had my MAC brushes for years and years and years. I used to work there, and a lot of them I've noticed have started shedding like recently, even though I've had some of them for like 7 years. I don't know if they're just wearing out and telling me it's time to get new ones. But when I first got them, none of them shed. So I think it's just, I don't know if it's just an age thing or what, but this one doesn't shed still. So this is a little, it kind of looks like a guy's like shaving brush. And then the other brush that I really like that I've gotten recently is this Real Technique. It's Real Technique. It's the stippling brush, and I love this for foundation. I love it for like cream blushes. I love that it has, well, this I believe is all synthetic, but I like how it has, usually like the MAC one like this is the black hairs are real hair and then the white is synthetic. So these little guys are really great for putting on for stippling, getting a little bit more coverage, for like buffing out like a cream blushes. I love this little guy for that. And then I use that one mostly for foundation, and then I have this littler one that I use for all my cream blushes because I've been using a lot of cream blushes lately. And this one's also good for like concealer. You can get under the eye and like buff out your concealer. It's a little baby MAC stippling brush. But like I said, this Real Technique brush was, I think, was like $8. This is a great, great brush. It does not shed at all. It's a great quality brush. This is the only one I've tried in this line, but I do want to try some more of her brushes. But I mean, I have so many brushes already. I don't want to have to buy more brushes when I already have them. But I'm thinking of getting, they have a really nice like flat top Kabuki brush that I really want to get. And then speaking of Kabuki brushes, this is my little baby Kabuki brush. I love this for buffing on powder, like powder foundations. Like I use it a lot for bronzer, so it gives that really soft kind of blended look. And I mean, it's really good for putting on powder because it just kind of buffs the powder into your skin. So this is a number. This one sheds, unfortunately. It never used to. I've had it for at least 5 or 6 years. It's the MAC 182. And he likes to shed sometimes, which is unfortunate. But yeah, a Kabuki brush is a great one to have in your collection because it's really good for powder products and it's so soft. And you could use this also for liquid, but I prefer the other like flat top, more synthetic hairs for putting on foundation. Just doesn't leave any brush marks. And then blush brush, this is just the MAC 129. I mean, I use it to apply bronzer. I use it for powder if I need to. But definitely a blush brush is good for putting on your blush because it's just the right size. Sometimes the Kabuki brush can be a little bit big. So I like it for bronzer because I kind of like bronzer to kind of go everywhere. So I use that to put it on so it gives that kind of buffed out, really soft look. Now for eye brushes. So this type of brush, which is synthetic, it's flat, it's a very soft brush and very kind of rounded. This is my favorite for any cream eyeshadows. I usually put on my base with just my fingers, and then if I'm using a base over top, like and like a Jumbo NYX pencil or the new like Maybelline tattoo colors, I use this kind of brush to put it on because it just gives, it blends it out really nice, just gives a nice application. Another one is the 152, which I love for powder. This is also synthetic, but it's a little bit more dense, it's softer. This is good for packing on color, so because it's dense, it'll pick up quite a lot of product. So you can pick up your color and basically just pack it on your eyelid, and then you would use a softer brush to blend it out. So for blending brushes, I have two that I really like. I love the MAC 222 brush. It's just a long, kind of skinny. It's got a really soft, this is really good for getting in the crease. It'll get a really soft blended crease going. That's what I love this guy for. So it fits, basically fits, and it does all the work for you. You just kind of have to brush it back and forth and it'll blend out the color for you just from doing that motion. So it basically just buffs out the edges of the eyeshadow for you and blends it. The second crease brush that I really like, this is a Laura Mercier ponytail brush. It's kind of pointed, so the nice thing about that, it's really good for the outer corner when you want like a more concentrated amount of color. You can buff it on and then blend it out, because then once you get the color on the tip, it will pick up quite a bit of color, and you put it on, and then when you're blending it, this kind of pushes in and then it blends it out. And it's also good for getting a really like a harder line in the crease because it's very small, so you can just kind of fit it in the crease and apply your color and just lightly blend it out. So a tapered blending brush is always a good addition. Another one that I love is the MAC 225. It's a big soft brush. This is my favorite for applying highlight, for applying like in the inner. That's basically what I use it for, is my highlight, because it just covers this whole area. And in the corner, you can just buff on a light color to add a highlight. And then if you want a more concentrated color, just pick up more with the edge, and then you just kind of buff it under the brow to add a more defined highlight in there. So I love, love, love this brush. I probably had this brush for about 6 or 7 years, maybe more. I've had it for a long time, and it does not shed. It's never shed. This is a great, 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 great brush. It's so soft. And then a brush that's good to have, but I don't often use because I use liquid liner, so I use a pen liner and I use a pencil for my brows and I buff it out with a little spoolie brush, is an angle brush. This is great for filling in your brows if you want like a softer look and you want to use powder. This is good for putting on eyeliner, either a powder liner or a gel or a cream liner. This like fits in there and you just drag it across and it'll get you a really nice smooth line. I also use this when I'll take a pencil and I'll just draw it on kind of roughly, and then you can take this and really just like straighten out the line. For people that aren't really good with the precise application of like an eye pencil, you just kind of put it on, and then you would take this little angle brush and you would just basically go over the edge and it will totally straighten it out, and it's like really, really easy for people who are kind of have a hard time using pencil. I can't make a straight line with a pencil. I always blend it out with one of these guys. For washing your brushes, I actually wash my brushes with baby shampoo. It's like Johnson & Johnson, the yellow. I actually ran out and have to get more, so I can't show it, but it's the yellow baby really gentle shampoo. I put like a small amount in my hand, and it's basically like a wiping motion. You never want to go like with your brush because it's going to like make all the bristles kind of go outwards. So I kind of do like a back and forth wiping, and then under the tap I'll just pull so that all the product comes out, keeping the bristles together so that it stays in that nice shape. Otherwise it's going to like sprawl out and be all gross. Doing that will make your brushes last a lot longer if you're just really gentle. I've always been really crazy about cleaning my brushes when I worked at a makeup counter everyone was like, knew me for being like notoriously crazy about keeping my brushes really clean. I didn't like when other people used my brushes because they'd make them dirty and wouldn't clean them properly, or they'd wreck them. So brushes like an angle brush, because it's so, you want to keep it in that really nice shape. Like I've had this angle brush for probably 7 years maybe, and I mean it's still perfect, because basically, like I said, I take a little bit of shampoo and it's just kind of like, you take the flat side and it's like a wiping back and forth. So you're keeping it and then you pull it out under the tap to get the product out. You're just pulling it because you want to keep the bristles together. You don't want it to sprawl out, because then it's like impossible and useless when you're doing your brows or doing eyeliner, when all the hairs are like all over. You want to keep it thin like that. So you definitely want to do this kind of back and forth. It's like a wiping motion, and then you pull out the excess product. Same goes for any like this kind of brush. Like you want to keep them thin, and you want to keep the bristles together. If you don't take care of them, they're going to be all like, I don't have any to show you because I'm really crazy about cleaning mine, so mine are all in pretty decent shape for the amount of time I've had them. So yeah, it's just basically a wiping into the shampoo under the tap. Try not to get the metal under the water. I just put some water on this and pull, so it pulls the product out, and you just wipe it back and forth on your hand, pull it out under the water. And always leave them flat to dry overnight. You don't want to put them in a cup sitting up like this, because the water is going to drip into here and it's going to make all the bristles. Basically, it'll get in with the glue and start eating away at the glue, and then the bristles will all just fall out. Granted, some of my brushes that happened anyway, but maybe that's why. There was probably a time where I just put it up, and I mean, I think that's probably the majority of the reason why brushes will lose their hair like that, is that people clean them and stick them in their cup like this. So they're wet, all the water is getting inside, or soap that you didn't wash out properly, and it's basically just melting away the glue and making it so that the bristles will just come out. So that's just a couple tips on how to take care of your brushes. I clean mine once a week. I mean, I use my brush, it depends how often you use it. Mine get kind of dirty because I use them pretty much every day. But yeah, I definitely will wash my personal brushes once a week. Obviously, my freelance brushes, I wash them after every use, which most people should do. You can also get a brush cleanser, which is good for if you are doing makeup for like multiple people and you need to wash it in between. It's the same kind of idea. You just take a tissue, you squeeze out the liquid, and you just wipe it back and forth, pull out the product, and it'll dry pretty quickly so that you can go on and do another makeup right after. So yeah, I hope this was somewhat helpful. If there's other questions about brushes or any kind of like how to sanitize your products or anything, please let me know and I'll be happy to make that video for you guys. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.